Right, let's get this started, I suppose. Um, Not particularly in the best of moods, really. Although, at the same time, I shouldn't really let it get to me because it's got nothing to do with me. It's just I don't like what I'm seeing happening in spaces, as I'm sure a lot of you agree. Shadrach, good evening. And whoever else is here, good evening. I hope you're all managing to remain calm. Nobody panic. Um, the stream this evening is going to be one of caution. I feel that a warning needs to be put out there so that you make sure to prioritize your self-care and not to allow your emotions to get the better of you, because if that happens you could forget about your self-care. D-Man, good to see you, sir. And Hobo Jack, good to see you, sir. Shadrach, sir, obviously. um, I've got a couple of small announcements to make. There's already 5 people, it says here in the chat, so I'll give it a minute or two and then I'll say it just so then um, more ears can hear it and it doesn't have to be repeated later on. Now I'll begin by saying that I did a stream last night. Some of you may have caught it. I remember what I called it, but I decided to remove it because I know that those who already understand what I was talking about didn't really need to hear it. And to the people it would have benefited the most, being directed towards, wouldn't want to hear it, basically. So, because if there's a bloodlust going on, maybe that's an exaggeration, but if people are in fight mode, um, then usually, as you can imagine, when someone is a bit angry, you try to tell them to calm down, it kind of makes them more angry. So I didn't think last night's stream, at least the timing of it, would have been of any use, and if anything, would have probably accelerated, exacerbated the problem even further. And it aggravates me in that I felt as though it's all right, maybe I could have worded it better and structured it better and or whatever, but the general gist was of importance. And where it's aggravating or frustrating is that for the sake of trying to make people happy, um, I had to compromise some of my integrity over, for in the process. I had to basically like go back on what I was saying and bite my tongue to protect the emotions of those I was actually trying to enlighten. It would make more sense if you heard the stream, but I'm obviously, I've privatized it, so you might not understand what I'm saying. But this evening stream is going to have elements of that carrying over. this idea of basically like emotions taking the forefront, and how it become very problematic, etc. Which is a signal. We like to talk about our feelings here and our emotions and how these are messages and signals, and it's down to us to be able to decipher what it's truly actually trying to tell us, instead of directing us as automatons, mindless enactors, which usually causes us more problems because there's no real thinking behind the motivations. An example be like, you feel angry, so you think beating someone up is what you're supposed to do, when really the message of feeling angry is that you need to treat yourself with a bit more kindness, or now's the time for relaxation. It kind of seems counterintuitive. Now, for those who are more practiced, will be able to sort of catch themselves. A large part of self-care, responsibility, maturity is catching yourself in these sort of moments. But if you're not able to do that, you will be drowned by your own emotions, and the longer it goes on, the harder and harder it becomes to turn the tide, as it were. You're more likely to double down. Fear of embarrassment, fear of feeling shame. You got your pride and your honor kind of thing, to your ego defenses to uphold, and you dig yourself a deeper hole. I remember saying it to a woman a while back. You're gonna dig yourself a deeper hole, like shut your mouth, sort of thing. But they don't want to. You don't want to hear it. Well, maybe it's not said in the nicest of pleasantry ways, but it kind of carrying on isn't the way to go about things. Sometimes you need to accept the losses and be like, you know what, it's better I take the loss and able to walk away, rather than having to be carried out on a stretcher. But then some people want to, they want to go out in a blaze of glory or something like that. That doubling down problem. So, good evening, Bullets and JR. Good to see you here. So that's the first sort of item on the itinerary to just quickly mention that the stream I did yesterday, which I removed, was about some of the observations taking place in these spaces, and the intuition side of me is telling me that this is a bad omen. Whichever side of the fence you're on, whether even if you're a bystander or whatever, for the community as a whole, we all take some responsibility in that, because the world is watching, and what they're seeing, if I were them, sort of thing, I wouldn't be impressed. It's when I hear the particulars, and I don't really want to get into the particulars, but when I hear it, it's kind of embarrassing. And then you contrast this with the tenets and the message and the mantras and the sort of the philosophy, the stoicism. It's almost like a laughing stock, a ridicule. It's infantile. It sounds all glorious. It sounds very ambitious and very, positive. Sounds like justice and things like that. But when you sort of look deeper, it's kind of like a kid wanting to play superhero. And obviously I've got a child, so every day I have reminders of seeing the world with a child's eye, and I don't see much difference. I'm sorry to say, this is why I'm saying it. Like I thought we're better than that. Now already I'm on the verge of interjecting or injecting myself into the situation by simply talking about it, which I don't really want to be. It's a double-edged sword. It's like another element here is this idea of telling people what they should be doing. It's happened to me before in the past, and at the same time telling men to live your life how you choose. You are the captain of your ship, but I don't like how you're doing it, and do as I say. How does that make sense? So I know it's a load of baloney. I know it's showing me one hand while the other hand is trying to pick my pocket. Let me just check. Dang it, the avatar thing again. All right, 1 second, gentlemen. Yeah, okay, we'll have a pony today. Let's see if that improves. There we are, we have a pony. Speaking of ponies, another embarrassing thing that I've been noticing is this possessiveness, not just of people and their channels, but of simple wrenches. What the hell is that about? This, how people get so upset. Now, people wrench others for whatever reason. Sometimes they need actual moderators doing a moderating type of job. Sometimes, well, in my case, the reason why the vast majority of you are wrenches is to give you some acknowledgement, to give you a low level of protection that you can't be timed out or blocked or something like that. It gives you a little bit of power, But make no mistake, it is not the holy unicorn horn that you are being given. This isn't a penile extension that you should really have such a death grip over. And it's becoming a problem where now if certain people get a wrench, it upsets someone else. Or if I decide myself, like, I don't want to give someone a wrench, it kind of starts to stick out like a sore thumb. Now, I'm not about to remove everyone's wrenches, but what I am, unfortunately, probably most likely going to do is shut the live chat down. That will mean no one will know who is present, so resentment can be set aside, because I know that is also a tantalizer for some people. It's like, who's in here? Let me scan and see which asshole is in here that I don't like, and then it turns, at least on my channel, it takes it off topic, because I'm of the belief, and I would like to think, that my channel is a place of information, for a perspective, perhaps some insight, a place where you can come to a safe haven, in a way where you can have some time to self-reflect without a, like, I suppose you could say there is a criticizing judgment, because self-reflection is like evaluation, but it's in your own private head. And ultimately, the channel here is to help people grow, to improve and develop, and like a bit of therapy, to help walk you through some of the things that you might be finding challenging, especially issues relating to the heart and ambiguous sort of spirituality. Sometimes as much as we want to control emotions, sometimes we need to utilize the emotional language in order to sort of invoke the poet inside of us, to remind us of our humanity, instead of just telling you to, in a robotic fashion, what you need to be doing. Because without meaning, as logical as you might think being is the best for you, logic will kill your soul if you're not careful. There's no point me saying, look, you want to level up, all you need to do is basically quit your whining, sort out your finances, get a job, get a haircut, fix your diet, do some exercise. That's all well and good. Yes, it's good advice, but without meaning as to but why do all of this? And just simply saying because you're worth it, like a L'Oreal hair commercial, that's not gonna, you wouldn't be satisfied with it, just like I wouldn't. That's why I do these sort of deep, I like to think they're deep, maybe they're not, but these explorations and talks. So there's the acknowledgement, we are human, we need meaning, as emotionally based as that might be. The question is, no, it's not good to be devoid of feelings. They're there for a reason. And it starts to show that there is a relationship between your heart and your mind, between emotion and logic. You can't have one without the other. The true master is someone who's able to manage both and use them in conjunction. You become much more formidable in that sense. And wouldn't this not be the prime directive of establishing yourself as an independent man, to be able to have your shit together to such an extent where you use your mind as the ultimate tool, but you have a heart of gold as well at the same time. To have the discernment to know which one needs to be leading at any given moment. It's kind of like being ambidextrous, to be able to use both your hands together instead of fighting each other. Because when you fight internally like that, the cognitive dissonance, you start to tear yourself apart inside out. And so we see this problem spilling out wider into the community. Brother versus brother. When if I'm going to be using the more psychological, pathological angle here, it's nothing personal, really. What it is me versus me. I might be arguing with you, hating on you, but really it's not anything personal against you. It's because of the problems I'm having with myself. You being there helps me to visualize like a punching bag for me to try to shadow box my demons. Which is why I don't see this thing that's happening in the community space recently as being anything really productive, even with the so-called reasonings going on. I believe there is much more deeper, uncomfortable personal issues that are trying to be resolved by using other people to do that. What I would like to happen is a sort of come to Jesus kind of thing for that realization to take place, but I don't think it will, and maybe it's asking for too much. So let me share a picture, because, well, just because. Music. No, not that. Hold on. What am I doing? Dang it. I can't share the picture because I'm using Firefox. It wants to share my entire screen. I just want to share a window. All right, never mind. Just imagine a picture of a whole bunch of piranhas. Oh no, get this out of my way. I see there's some other people here. Peng is here. Good to see you. Mr. Hemi, good to see you. Rusty. Always in capital letters. Rusty. Right. Okay. Now, let me see. I can see this is already getting having a quick look at the chat. I can already see it's becoming a bit of a tizzle. So, say what you want to say right now, because in a few seconds I'm gonna shut the chat down. Get it out of your system. Now, hopefully, I don't know if this is in real time, and hopefully I've clicked the right buttons, but I don't think any of you are able, maybe I'm wrong, but the chat has now been closed. Now, for those of you who have been respectful of the channel, obviously, like, I appreciate the how you've been conducting yourselves and things like that. So it's a shame that some bad apples sort of ruin the whole bunch, or whatever the expression is. But this is gonna make things a lot more simple. So there'll be no more in-house fighting. There'll be no more being disruptive on my channel in that sense. There'll be no more who's in here, spying eyes and whatever. If you're watching this video, it'll be that much more intimate between you listening and me talking, kind of thing. The situation of having an open panel might still happen from time to time, but those will be I'll have much more restrictions in place for that. So everyone can relax with their keyboard typing now. You don't have to be like keyboard warriors anymore. You can And it takes the burden of those who are moderators making those executive decisions and doing that sort of stuff. Right, so let's continue. So those who are familiar with my streams might remember me talking about arena. This is the sort of the narcissistic landscape we're discussing here. When we talk about drama, the drama that's going on, what we're really talking about is an arena. This is the stage. It's being set up, or currently being set up. The arena, what happens in the arena? The exchange will take place. It is the gladiatorial fight to capture the spirit of man in exchange for crumbs of validation. So a frenzy is going to happen. And that is why this stream tonight is titled Get Out of the Water. There are piranhas, and they're going to nibble. Unfortunately, the thing is, drama, the excitement of the arena, the spectacle, draws in the attention of other people. And depending on what kind of person that is, in general, it's going to make matters more conflated, complicated. Some will see the opportunity, blood is in the water, and they will throw in additional feuds or additional upsets, things they aren't happy about. And so to capitalize on people's already angered state, so a third person of outside or whoever will see people are getting ready for battle, and maybe they've got their own mini war going on, so they're looking to basically recruit additional warriors into the fold. And if you're not careful, you'll find yourself battling multiple battles simultaneously until you're raging at the world as a whole over some spilt milk. And you can see how this isn't really reaching any resolution. This is purely just adding fuel to the already volatile fire. Maybe after some time you might think back and be like, how did it all start? And then you'd realize that whatever the headline statement reason was pushed aside long ago. And what is taking place is the enactment of the deeper, truer motives. It starts to become more apparent what this is really all about. But by then it's probably too late. So my advice, if you're someone who's trying to stay out of it, like myself, for example, I don't really want anything to do with it, nothing to do with me. You need to be a bit cautious because the pressure will be placed upon you to choose a side or something. Well, what's your opinion? And it'll be difficult to not have an opinion. you'll probably start to notice being made to feel guilt, for instance. To make it easier, though, I say just get on with whatever personal issues, personal projects you have. Get on with your life and leave those who want to have this arena to it. That's basically all you can do. You know, again, if I use sort of lessons learned from the narcissist community, you don't really stand in the way of the narcissist. You just get away from it. You get away from their flying monkeys. You get away from their networks. You know, and if you've got things to be occupying yourself with, then do so. You might have noticed in the background was a noise. It's kind of stopped now. But that's the sound of me getting on with things. That's the sound of me making some money. Well, failed print. Maybe not quite making money. But at least I'm occupied with the grind. And maybe it's easier for me to say such things because I got lots of I've got a kid, I've got my car, I've got my own health, I've got my own stuff to be easily occupying myself with. For those who haven't got much, then the idea of going to war or something like that is exciting. It's yippee, finally got something to do and take out the frustrations, but it's not going to be helping. It all comes down to what do you want? What do you decide? And I'm not here really to tell you what to do. If you want to, if you're raging, if you want to battle, if you feel like you have something to defend, if you've got some sort of crusade, then you do that. You know, I just hope that you don't pull along innocent people or people who might not be interested in it really. So it's so everyone, regardless of what kind of walk of life you're coming from, has responsibility, and it comes in different forms. And it comes down to what really matters to you, really, and what are your true reasons for doing whatever it is you're deciding to do. I'm not saying anyone is wrong. I'm not saying anyone is right. But what I am saying is we should all be individuals. We all have our own individual lives to live. And if someone were to come to me, looking for to engage me in battle in this arena, knowing that it isn't anything personal and I'm being essentially used as a scapegoat so that they can tend to their emotional regulation, then I don't need to really be there. And I'm not there for that purpose. I'm not even here right now for the purpose of fixing you or fixing people. I don't save people. This sort of stuff. I'm not your mentor in that sense, because all of this really is already meant to be within you. At best, all I am doing is showing you that you have hands. Like, check it out. You've got hands. Give your fingers a wiggle. Isn't that neat? Right. Now you got the tools. You know, you're going to have to do the work. You're going to have to connect the dots. You're going to have to save yourself. You're going to have to fix yourself. I hope this kerfuffle, us beginning to proliferate within the community spaces, will pitter down. But I have to remind myself to keep my expectations and my wishes and desires out of the equation, really. There may come a point where some of you have already decided to let go, and from what were friends or brothers in a polarizing way have now become arch nemesis. What's the plural? Nemesis, which is a shame. And more reason why, again, this black or white, all or nothing, isn't really the way to be. You could be somewhere in between. So I'm not pledging any allegiance to anyone other than myself, my daughter. You may warn me or something, stay away from so-and-so, or what the hell are you doing? But really, at least give me the respect for me to make my own decisions and mistakes, instead of trying to treat me like a child. You know? It's that silliness of I'm going to help you out by shaming you. Like, I know you're I want you to be smarter because you're a complete and utter moron, idiotic moron. It doesn't quite make sense. And whoever is saying such a thing is only really gonna make themselves disappointed because they're not getting their way. And they stepped out of bounds. You know, it's like, I'm sorry, I don't meet your entitled expectations of me. I didn't realize I had to please you in that sense, you know. So I think really, instead of a call to arms or call to war, really this is a time, remember, going back to the start of this stream about the messages and the signals of feelings and emotions. You might feel like going to war, but really this is a message to tell you to do some checks and balances. Like, what the hell are you doing? You know? Is this really what you want? Is this the right way to go about it? Could there be an alternative that's more appropriate? I don't know. That's not for me to decide. So that's basically all I got to say on the matter. I'm going to be going forward and continuing what I do on my channel. I will not be dissuaded from doing the explorations in search of self and the discovery of such philosophical I don't know how you want to say it. But yeah, I recommend slowing down, breathe, pause for thought, reconsider. And ask yourself, what is it you really want? And in that way, just possibly, maybe we could all get what we want. It might not be how we imagined, but it could be something we can at least be content with. And really, is that the best, like, really, the most we could really hope for? We don't need perfection. We just need things to be good enough. You know? I recognize that there's a protective element to these sort of spaces. You want to safeguard and gatekeep. You want to have the boundaries. And yes, I understand the practicalities. You know, you have infiltration, chameleons, covert narcissists. It's nothing. I'm not a stranger to any of that. I've seen it before. I'm sure many of you have seen it as well. And we're going to see it again in the future. These are testing times. And for those predatory people, they're starving out. They're going to have to adapt and try other ways if they are going to survive. So what better way than pretending, you know, to have some sort of virtue? But if you are able to integrate danger into your life and to have the maturity to understand that you can't run forever, then you don't need to. You stand your ground. You have your integrity. You continue with your work. You do not need to be the ambassador of your message. Your work will do that for you. So instead of spending time on the altar giving sermons, spend it hard grafting. Have something to show for. And then it doesn't really matter what the infiltrators are doing. The people who are trying to mimic or corrupt or subvert the message, because you allow the observer to make their own mind up. They get to see both sides. And you have to have a little bit of faith that they have the intelligence to realize that one is authentic and the other is preposterous. And what is true stands the rigors of reality. That's why things that are fake or phony people never last. They're not made with quality. The question is what are you providing that is of quality? So as long as you know that you're doing the right, you got a good work ethic, you have your morals and things like that, and you're doing things properly, you're not trying to shortcut corners in life, then really you don't have anything to worry about. So much so that when it comes to the idea of no contact, you have no contact because you're still vulnerable. You haven't been, you haven't got the experience, or you haven't been uh, battle, was it battle worn, battle hardened. You haven't got the thick skin or whatever. So better safe than sorry. You go no contact. But once you have the discipline, the awareness, and all this stuff, you know, once you become healthy, or at least even healthier, the narcissist will go no contact from you. You know, you don't have nothing to worry about. You can leave your door unlocked at that point. They won't dare step anywhere near you because because your healthiness is a toxicity to them. They will not survive the proximity to someone like you. So, but essentially, again, you don't have anything to worry about, provided you have this integrity, this relationship with yourself, and it's authentic, not not whimsical, not a delusional relationship you have with yourself, but you actually know. You take it with some humbleness. You know, there is no arrogance in having that self certainty, to have that confidence in yourself, to already know that you don't have anything to prove, that there is no chasing happiness, but being happy is the way already. You know, you can have peace immediately if you so desire. And so every day can become a blessing instead of a ominous nightmare. Always like a scramble of survival. Realizing that you don't have anything to lose anymore. Not in that sense, anyway. It doesn't really matter. You know, you know you are walking in good faith, even if maybe there are things that you might not be proud of. You have that acceptance, and regardless of whatever may have happened, you are showing that inner child the unconditional love that it deserves. So, with that, I'll end the stream. I hope you're all doing well. I know these are emotionally painful times, and I have a habit of opening up wounds. But when you can treat yourself with a bit more compassion, a bit more kindness, be gentle to yourself, be strong enough to be gentle, then you'll be more appreciative of where other people are coming from. The war that's out there is a reflection of the war that is in here. And when we all can I think when we all can start like being more honest with ourselves, we'll see some miraculous changes. So I like to keep the faith and optimism. I hope this is a transitionary sort of phase, and just make sure you take care of yourselves. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your time and listening. And I'll speak to you all again soon. Have a good night.